This is the Cal One-on-One podcast on Cape Atlantic Live. Here's your host, Nick Kosko.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Cal One-on-One podcast right here on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. I'm your host, Nick Kosko, and with me is EHT Girls Basketball head coach Adam Swift. Coach, appreciate the time as always. Looking forward to seeing what you guys do on the court this season. Already just got to ask you about preseason. What's it been like for you guys getting ready? Obviously, the opener's coming up on Thursday away against Bridgeton. What's this all season been like, the transition from last year to this year?
First, Nick, I want to thank you for including us in this and kind of giving me an opportunity to talk about our team. This year is I think, big year for us. We returned quite a few players, so we're looking forward to accomplishing some big things. The offseason has pretty much been the girls playing a ton of basketball. When I first started in the program, this is going my 5th year here, basketball didn't seem to be a major priority in the township for girls. And we've really seen that take off. Our girls probably play more basketball now than ever before. And that's awesome, whether that's with me or their AAU teams or just getting out to the park. We're getting to the point where you can drive by a park now in the township and see girls playing. And I think that's just a really cool, neat thing that you don't see everywhere. We return a healthy amount of points in our roster. We have 3 starters back from last year, including 2 starters that were starters as freshmen as well, and another girl who was injured her freshman year but played significant minutes towards the end. So we're definitely excited about that. The preseason, we've kind of set up a tough schedule. We went out and we scheduled Williamstown, Middle Township, Wildwood Catholic. So we really went out and wanted to get a good test of where we stand.
So when you look at that preseason, and we'll get into some of the other stuff about building the program on the outside, looking at it as well. So that preseason really intrigues me, considering you just mentioned scrimmaging Williamstown, Wildwood Catholic, Middle Township. Obviously, those are girls teams that are historically always in the running, and teams that are going to be really good this year. So when you look at those scrimmages leading into the opener, what was your takeaway from meeting against those 3 teams?
So yes, we did also scrimmage Appliance. I do want to include them too, because they're going to be a very good team as well. I think the big thing was it was an opportunity for us to see what we need to work on, and as well as what was working for us. The big thing that we saw from the scrimmages, not so much focused on what was the final score or wins and losses, but what are we executing well? What are we doing well as a team? And kind of giving both players and coaches the opportunity to be all right, if we want to get to that next level, let's play the best and see where we are. And there was times that we just showed we belong on the court.
Absolutely. So you guys definitely do belong on the court. I know you guys are a perennial playoff contender, but you're looking for that next step. Of course, 14-13 last season. Quick exit in the Cal tournament, but the South Jersey Group 4 playoffs were a little kinder to you, getting that win over Toms River East and then just falling short to Shawnee in the next round after that. So we'll get into the expectations in a little bit, but you said something about this being your 5th season, building up the girls program within the high school, within the township, and how it's now more of a priority for this group of girls coming up, whether it's in the youth program, middle school, into the high school. What's that process been like for you since you took over the team, and then what you've seen it progress into from when you started into now in your 5th year?
I guess the big thing is just being involved with the youth programs. Our youth program travel teams have done an awesome job the last, I've been here 5 years, but it's really been built with this core group of juniors. Seems to be where it really took off. So kind of just making sure to be out in the community and working with the youth, and then just doing different things throughout the year with the actual program at the high school, whether that's making sure we got involved in summer leagues. We hosted a youth camp where our girls actually were the instructors. So they kind of had that buy-in of the fun experience of being the one the younger athletes are looking up to and in awe of. So I think they started to see what this meant to some of the younger kids in the community, and that kind of built the excitement there. And then just overall having some success, I think, always helps. So they've done a nice job kind of buying into our system and our philosophy of what we're doing as a program. And the last couple groups that have come and graduated have really kind of took the program to the next level each year.
Yeah, with a couple of playoff appearances, it's obviously building up in the right direction. You do return a lot of girls this year, including a very core group that are all juniors, as you highlighted in the pre-show. So before we get into that, I was curious about the basketball aura of EHT over the past couple of years. Obviously, you've seen what head coach Campbell has done with the boys program. I just talked to him recently, of course, making the state final last year. Does something like that influence the girls program as well and kind of give more of a buzz to the school, considering, both the boys program and the girls program, they've gone through their roller coaster years, I would say, over the last 10, 15 years. Does something like last year's run from the boys team influence the girls and say, you know what, we might have the opportunity to do that, do that as well?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, there was the excitement with the boys program and all they were doing. And the girls got to see if you put in the work and the effort, which that boys team did. And those kids came in and practiced hard every single day. And they kind of saw the rewards of that. So the girls were able to see, like, this is a possibility for us if we're willing to put in the work and the time. And I mean, the gyms were always packed for the boys, and we're slowly seeing an incline in attendance at our games. But I mean, if you start winning, obviously more fans are more likely to come. The buzz is there, the excitement's there. So it definitely was a thing for the girls to kind of look at and be like, hey, why not us? Why can't that be us?
And that why not us mentality is highlighted by this trio that I have down here: Avery Harding, Lila Brown, and Ava Craybill, all juniors. So you do have 2 more years with them as well, but they're all key pieces. They can all score. They can all play some defense as well, including Avery Harding, Cal All-Star last year, leading scorer. Just tell me about that trio and maybe some other players that need to be highlighted for this winter. But obviously, I guess it starts with those 3, and basically you're going to go as those 3 go.
They are going to be a major factor on the offensive end, obviously. I mean, like you said, while all 3 still pretty young, they've been playing a lot of varsity basketball. Lila Brown is a girl who came into the program her freshman year, and I don't think had ever played the point really before coming to high school. And from day one, she's been our point guard. She's started every game. She hasn't missed anything, just kind of been that rock solid influence. Gets us initiated in our offense, can score it a little bit, kind of just that security as a coach, where it's always nice to know that the ball's being taken care of, and that's one less thing to worry about. Avery Harding, 6'2" girl, very skilled, competitor, hard-nosed, tough, starting to get college looks, really performing well. And then Ava Crable's just that player that can do a little bit of everything, handle the ball when needed. She also has that rare skill of just being able to go and get a point. I mean, you can talk about like wanting to run an offense or being structured, but sometimes you just need a kid that can go and score. And that's something she can do. With the 3 of them, there's not going to be many times where we don't have at least 3 out of the 5 best players on the court. And that's extremely important in the game of basketball, and is such an advantage. In addition to them, we have a ton of girls that have different roles and things they're bringing to the team. We have defensive stoppers, and Alina Gonzalez, she'll play a key role. We have some senior leadership from our 2 seniors, Katie Keenan and Reese Weiss, whether that's leadership on the court or off the court. And then as well as some sophomores that can come in and get us baskets when we need. So it's going to be a team effort, even though the big 3 might like lead us on the offensive end. Mm-hmm. A team's only going to be successful as all the other role positions, the rebound and the defending. And we have a bunch of girls that have really bought into that idea.
So when you look at last year, again, up and down, I know only 14 and 13, so not up to maybe the standard that you want to get there. But again, 1-1 in the playoffs, nothing to scoff at. When you look at last year's tape, last year's stats, last year's group, you compare it to this year, a lot of those girls are back this year, including the 3 we just mentioned, that junior trio. Did you know last year that maybe you might take, there might be some bumps in the road, but there would be an opportunity to say these girls are going to be really, really good in the next 2 years when they're older and wiser and obviously have had more game experience?
So we definitely knew last year. We did have a good senior bunch last year as well, but we knew we'd be playing a lot of younger kids. The schedule just kind of fell where our schedule turned out to be pretty tough last year. I mean, we played the Middle Townships and Sterling. So we definitely played some challenging teams, but there was a sense of like, this is building in the right direction. We obviously last year, the expectation was we were going to compete and we were going to compete against the best. But it was also that kind of, this is a step in the right direction. If we can be 14 and 13 with a relatively young core, then the potential is there to really have this take off.
So when you're looking for that takeoff, and I know this is going back 20, 30 years now at this point, EHT does have a history of great girls basketball teams. Obviously, there's numbers hanging up in the rafters. There's South championships from the past. It was a long time for the boys coming. It took them a while to get back to kind of that point. Got to a state final last year for the first time ever. When you look at, again, it's kind of piggyback off the earlier question. We look at last year's success for the boys team and knowing that there is a history of great success for the girls teams in that high school. What does that mean to you and this team saying that is achievable? I mean, I got to imagine at a certain point that was maybe further from everyone's minds, but now it's like, oh, this is a reality. Do you guys have those thoughts running through your heads?
I think absolutely. Like you said, I believe it was like the early 90s, the girls team at Egg Harbor Township was just unreal, nationally ranked team, just phenomenal. And you always see their banners in that gym. And I think it's the kids are so disconnected from that because they weren't even born then, but kind of between seeing those banners every day and seeing what it was at one point in the early 90s. And then to your point, seeing that the boys were able to make their run, that definitely makes something that more of a reality, right? Like why this is an achievable thing and let's work towards this. And I know the girls have big goals and that's awesome. I tell them every day, if we're going to play, we might as well play the best. We might as well play the best to beat the best. So
that mentality is very interesting. I know that's probably the best way to build a team. Again, the old saying is iron sharpens iron. So I've asked a lot of the boys coaches this about the depth of the Cape Atlantic League. It's only gotten better and better, I would say, over the last 5 to 10 years. It used to be very top heavy. Now it's basically top to bottom. Anybody on any given night can beat anybody. Would you say it's the same thing on the girls' side of things as well? I know you just mentioned you scrimmage teams like Absegami, Wildwood Catholic, and Middle Township before the regular season. Those are going to be some of the top contenders in the conference this year. When you see those 3 teams, do you notice that there are more than just those 3 teams now compared to maybe what it was about 5-10 years ago?
Absolutely. I definitely think there's balance within the division, within the league. I mean, you look at a team like us, we are technically in the middle division. So what the Cal does is they try to put like the top 6 together, then the next 6. So from my perspective, I'm like, all right, if we're falling in as like the 7th best team in the league, it's a pretty good league. So there's definitely that balance. And on any given night, you could see a variety of upsets or teams maybe with surprising wins. So there's definitely more depth. It's not like you go into the season anymore and you're like, well, here are the 2 teams and everybody else is kind of just playing for scraps. So I think there's realistically 6 to 7 teams that could beat any other team in the league on any given night.
EHT Girls coach Adam Swift with me here on the Cal 101 podcast on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. Coach, when you look at, again, going back to the Cal, then you look ahead to your South Jersey playoff groups, and that's obviously where you want to get back. Cal championships, their sense of pride, obviously with the boys winning last year, it was a nice little catapult into the postseason and led them onto their run as well. I know it was a short stint for you guys last season in the conference tournament. Do your girls know the importance of beating those teams around the area, showcasing your abilities, and maybe coming out on top around this area of South Jersey and saying, if you can win this tournament, this conference tournament, do really well in this conference tournament, it's going to take you really far in the playoffs?
I think the girls have kind of started to understand like how good the Cal is. You see some of these teams, if you're beating the mainlands, like Mainland won on the girls' side last year, and they didn't even win their group. Ocean City won their group last year for the girls. So, and then you had Atlantic City who made it all the way, I forget, to either the semifinals or the finals. So, and then Wildwood Catholic went on their run. There's definitely like, if you can compete in the Cal and girls basketball, then you're setting yourself up. We're proving that you have the ability to make a run in the playoffs. And at your point, just confidence and being on that hot streak at the right time means the world in playoff basketball, or really any playoffs. Like, you want the momentum then. So the Cal tournament is such an important opportunity to kind of get that ball rolling.
I'll get you out of here on this one, Coach. So now that you are just a few days away from this opener at Bridgeton, it's finally time to play "quote unquote" real basketball. I know you were already battle tested in the preseason, the long off season of development training. You mentioned all the travel ball, the AAU, just making these girls play and play and play. I got to imagine, could this be the most prepared your group has been for an opener and for a season since you've taken over?
I would have to absolutely agree with that, whether it's been like just the experience they have on the court from the playing that they've done, as well as this is a group that's had me for 3 years now. Last year was the first group that really had me for 4 years, but the first couple years, obviously, when a program is transitioning, kind of working on the whole buy-in and kind of trying to get the kids to buy in. But now this junior class and senior class kind of had like, all right, all they know is how we've been doing things, and they've seen some success with it. So I think that's definitely a step ahead of where we've been in the past in regards to being prepared on the court skill-wise, as well as in regards to what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing your guys run here in 2023 and 24. Bridgeton on the road on December 14th to open up the season for the EHT Girls Basketball team. Coach, appreciate the time. As always, good luck this season. Hope to see you down the line this winter. Hopefully you guys are making a nice run and obviously more to talk about with this exciting group that you have coming back here.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Nick.
Adam Swift with me right here on the Cal 101 podcast on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service.